Hey, Foot Clan, before we start today's show, we just want to let you know, do you want to become an official Foot Clan member? Head over to jointhefoot.com.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Oh, my goodness. Welcome to the show. Oh.
I am so glad that yesterday was calm and relaxing and nothing happened.
Wow. I am still in shock over the events.
Over the souls you have taken,
Over
Andy?
the events that have transpired yesterday. This is the Fantasy Footballers Podcast where anything can happen. Welcome to the show. I'm Andy Holloway. I'm
the
not
Fantasy Reaper.
As you say, I've been known by a new name. I had 50 tweets within 5 minutes of the news yesterday. If you don't know what we're talking about, that means you probably didn't listen to yesterday's show, which means you probably didn't know we had Martavis Bryant on the show yesterday before the news broke. And mere moments, an hour after we released the episode, the Thursday episode with Martavis Bryant introing the show and as a guest, which we very much appreciated him coming on.
It's also known as the last Martavis Bryant interview that probably anyone will hear for a few months.
Oh, my goodness. Yes. Well, what can I say? Martavis Bryant has been suspended.
Oh, we're going right into it?
We'll talk about it. We got a good show today. We have our final mock draft of the pre-draft season, so we're excited about that. We're also talking to John Paulsen from 444, one of the more accurate guys that exist in the community. So that'll be a lot of fun. We'll be asking him some questions, and it's going to be a really good show. But right now, I'm still reeling from the Twitter blitz that happened after the news yesterday.
Where the Fantasy Reaper is going, you don't need roads.
I can't escape it. I mean, there's just I have to embrace this.
It was crazy. I mean,
it's crazy.
You've been loving guys, and then they've been dying. We bring a guy on the show. I love somebody was like, so has Nick Mangold canceled yet?
Oh, I hope not.
He's coming on, and we're going to treat you well.
What's funny is I've had multiple people ask, like, did you guys know? Like, I left off the question where I wanted to know, hey, are you suspended for 4 games?
Yeah.
We didn't get into that.
No, you didn't. But to be honest, it speaks a lot to why Pittsburgh, obviously they knew, and Martavis knew. And so Pittsburgh has spent a lot of time this offseason talking up Marcus Wheaton. And so I've had this question a lot. Let's just tackle this as the quick question of the day. Where does Bryant go in drafts, and where does Wheaton go in drafts now? Because that's what everyone wants to know. And if we can, let's give them rounds, because Bryant, much like Foster and some of these other guys, probably represents, to me, a late-round value now, because he's just going to tumble down boards. He's gone for 4 games. I don't see the suspension changing. There's an appeal, but all indications, all reports.
Yeah, we're going to move forward like the suspension holds.
So what's the implications? I mean, where do they go?
Go ahead, Jay.
I like Martavis Bryant right now. For me, no earlier than the 7th. The 7th is where
That's pretty early.
Well, yeah, I look at the guys that are going in the 7th, and I think normally when I draft those guys, say, a John Brown, who I really like, I like them, but when I put them on my roster, they're generally speaking, my 3rd wide receiver. And so that's where, if I've got other wide receivers that I can, withstand the first 4 weeks, I'm fine drafting Martavis Bryant, because I don't think he takes any hit on a per-game basis, right? He didn't play the first 6 games last year.
Well, that is the question and you're kind of answering it with your 7th round, which is to say, this is something Pittsburgh knew about. He is a great talent, and barring another incident, you believe he just comes back into the offense.
Exactly.
Some people are like, oh, is he going to get punished more by then? Well, no, they knew. They know what's going on.
Le'Veon Bell was,
oh, yeah.
Why are we, Le'Veon Bell's gone for essentially the exact same reason.
Great point.
They're going to come back in and be plugged in right away.
I agree. When I adjusted my rankings and just doing stats, Wheaton and Bryant ended up back-to-back.
Oh, really?
Was funny
just
enough.
Doing stats?
Yeah. And so because Bryant is the more explosive guy, maybe Wheaton can catch on this year.
Is that like a literal catch on?
Yeah, catch the ball.
Right.
He actually had a great week 1, and then things just kind of fell apart.
He had about 600 yards, 2 touchdowns last year.
Right, which you can't really count on for fantasy. But with Bryant coming back, he's a guy I would look for. I'd start looking in 8,
So back to
9.
back, who do you draft?
Like
You're in the draft now. Is it just depend on your team? Can you stash a guy?
Right. That's a very
really
good
the
point.
answer.
Can I hold a guy for 4 weeks
Yeah.
who I know that will do absolutely nothing? And it's man, his boom potential is
It's
so
disappointing.
Hard. He only caught
It's
like 25
disappointing.
passes last year.
Yeah, I know. But you also, because of that, much like ODB, you really can't project 8 touchdowns every
Correct.
25 passes where he's the greatest wide receiver that the world has ever seen. So disappointing to find out for those that are fans of Martavis and his game and what we've seen, which we obviously are, but
And
just incredible.
the entire Steelers offense, we were talking about this, there's a noticeable difference, about a 10-point per game difference in real life for the Steelers once Bryant entered the lineup.
And we talked about this yesterday after the show when we found out the news. Like, Mike asked me, like, what do you do with Lev Bell? Because the difference with Lev Bell was so measurable.
Yes.
And for me, I think Lev kind of ascended into his own during the season, regardless of Bryant. But it has an impact because anytime you take a big guy out of an offense, I mean, look at Green Bay. I think we all agree an impact will happen. You can't take a great player off the field. It's not the same story here, but you can't take a great player off the field and not have a change or an impact to somebody. So Wheaton gets a bump, Bryant goes down, and let's talk some more news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, just to put a bow on it, Martavis Bryant, 4-game suspension, substance abuse violation. The report right now in RotoWorld is multiple failed marijuana tests, and so, he's gone. He's gone.
Yeah,
So,
and you really, really have to hope this is not another Josh Gordon.
it comes to mind because we've just been through it.
Well,
And this is something that is difficult for people sometimes to overcome the first time around.
yeah, he's been in the league, like 18 months.
Yeah.
And he's already been busted twice.
Yeah.
You don't get at least
twice.
yeah,
To get a
because in the
suspension.
new rules to get a 4-game suspension, the first one he didn't get any punishment, nobody knew about it, but so that is a scary proposition. If you want to avoid him because you're afraid of that, I don't actually have any problem with that, but
Yeah, that's just something that's not fun to mess around with. All right, out of Titans camp, we've had some hype about David Cobb, and he suffered a calf injury and now did not travel with the team, will not play in the third preseason game. This all but solidifies the fact that Sankey will start the year as the starter and will have probably a longer leash.
Yes, if Cobb is to take the bulk of the work, like some of the reporters out of Tennessee are saying, it's not going to be till later in the season.
If you can steal Sankey late in a draft, if you're a Lev Bell owner, roll him out there for the first 2 weeks. It's not the best thing in the world, but at the same time, he's a starter in the league. So I saw and did a lot of draft reviews, draft reports over the last few days where guys had Lev Bell and Arian Foster on their team.
Yeah, that's
So week 1 and 2,
dangerous.
Week 1 and 2, you're not rolling running backs out almost. So out of Colts camp, I hadn't seen this report yet. They are reporting Dorsett has the inside track on the number 3 receiver job, which
That's news.
is news. And honestly, we talked about Dorsett in the Sleeper Show 2 days ago because he's looked, to me, preseason, eyeballs, watching the field, Dorsett looks like the number 3 guy to me.
Yeah, and he's going to have to move up because I have him down. I was still a Moncrief believer. I still like Moncrief's game, but if all reports are that Dorsett's going to take that 3
It's a
job,
high pick, man.
you have to take a look at him for fantasy.
And
yeah,
another,
especially
go
because
ahead.
I think they're going to take Kobe Fleener out of their rotation a little bit more than they did last year. And if you look at those numbers and help spread those to that third wide receiver, I think you could have 3 viable fantasy options at the receiver position, of course, with Andrew Luck throwing the ball. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last bit of news, ESPN Jets reporter, so take it with a grain of observational salt, okay? I guess that's the word. It's not a
Where do
maybe
I find
maybe
that
that's better than a coach.
in the
so never
grocery
mind.
store? Where is observational salt?
It's down the ways from poppy seed muffins. Jets reporter Rich, I don't even know how to pronounce his last name.
We'll go with Chimney.
Let's give him credit though.
Let's give
Chimney.
Chimney.
Yeah, we're gonna get a tweet on that. All right, Chris Ivory primed for a career year.
Love it.
I mean,
We've been talking him up.
let's get that fluff
He's
out there
ready.
for Chris Ivory.
He's ready.
My original question for today was Chris Ivory or Doug Martin. So let me just one answer: Chris Ivory or Doug Martin. Jason.
Chris Ivory.
Ivory.
Ivory. Okay, I'm with you. All right, let's get to the main event here.
The Fantasy Footballers Mock Draft.
All right, this is it, guys. This is our last mock draft. We figured it would be good to this weekend is a big draft weekend. This is the weekend where we have one of our bigger bigger drafts, our keeper league draft on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are drafting on the 30th and then the week following.
Apparently, National Draft Fantasy Football Draft Day is approaching. It's tomorrow, or
There's a national day for that?
I think it's tomorrow.
I feel like
created one.
There's about 20 national draft days. There's a season where every day is national.
Well, it makes sense.
Draft day.
Preseason week 3 or 4.
But like NFL, the NFL and Xbox are sponsoring one. I've
go.
heard. So I think it's tomorrow.
All right, so let's set the table for our mock draft. We're going to be drafting from the 6th position, and here's the format for the league. We've got a 12-team PPR mock draft, 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end, 1 flex, and 5 bench spots along with a D and a kicker.
So the differences here are just that from most leagues, we're going PPR, and we've got 1 extra wide receiver spot.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
which kind of fits with a lot of PPR leagues.
And who are we mocking against today?
Today we are going to mock against the pre-draft rankings, a combination of Yahoo, NFL.com, and ESPN, and we're doing that on FantasyDraftWizard.com. Makes it really easy. We can go through here. This is a great group to draft against because a lot of people are going to be drafting through these websites this weekend.
And we always say take advantage of the names that people will be staring at.
Absolutely. And so that's kind of the situation here. So we are going to get it kicked off right now, and round 1, let's go. So first off the board, actually, in this mock draft was Marshawn Lynch, followed by Le'Veon Bell, Adrian Peterson, Jamal Charles, and Eddie Lacy, which puts us in the position that so many PPR drafters are in, which is how soon do I take a wide receiver because all the running backs, only running backs have come off the board. So right now we're looking at Antonio Brown jumping off the page for people. Most people think Antonio Brown's the top PPR guy. He's not my top PPR guy, but are you guys thinking running back here, or are you thinking wide receiver?
I always want to go running back early, but the 5 guys that I want are in the first round, where we are at number 6. They're all gone. So I'm actually looking at Antonio Brown or Julio Jones.
Yeah, for me, I'm pretty much in agreement. The next guy that I like clearly the most, Justin Forsett, I think has a small chance.
You like Forsett more than CJ in a PPR?
In a PPR, yeah. In a PPR, I've got Forsett as one of my absolute top backs. So we have the chance to take him here, but I think there's also the chance he could actually make it back. And so Antonio Brown is as solid and safe a pick as possible in PPR. So that's where I would lean.
Do you guys agree or disagree? He gets a bump because of Martavis Bryant's suspension.
It's a good point. It's a good point.
And especially these first 2 games. No Lev, no Martavis.
He's going to have like 50 targets in game 1.
So somebody tweeted me today and said, why don't you have Antonio Brown number 1 in PPR? I have Julio.
I think the main reason is because it's been several years since a wide receiver has actually repeated as the number 1. That's one of the reasons, right? It's just not common for them to repeat year after year.
Yeah, you can't just roll the same standings
we
out
have to
from
keep
the
in
year
mind
before.
that while Antonio Brown finished number 1 last year, he had a lot of touchdowns that I expect him to get, 8 or 9 touchdowns. But he was up in double digits, and so you take a slight bump there.
So who's the pick then?
I would still go Antonio.
I like Antonio Brown or Julio. You can split it.
All right, I'm going to stick with my rankings. They haven't changed because of the news in terms of at the top. So I'm going to just draft Julio Jones.
And just another point for Julio Jones. Pierre Garçon in Kyle Shanahan's offense was either the number 1 or the number 2 targeted receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, and there's been nothing that's happened in preseason to make
Pierre
me think that's
Garçon
not going to happen.
Pierre Garçon is not Julio Jones. I like Garçon, but Julio Jones is an elite monster.
Well, it turns out that Jason was right because we drafted Julio Jones. Antonio Brown went next. Des Bryant, Matt Forte, C.J. Anderson, Rob Gronkowski, and Aaron Rodgers round out the first round. I will say this. We are going to post this, okay? I will save this draft. I will post it on the website. It's hard to follow every roster spot while we talk, okay? And so we'll post this. Second round began with Jeremy Hill, ODB, DeMarco Murray, Calvin Johnson, Demaryius Thomas, and LaShawn McCoy. So our good fortune, the guy that we already had highest on the board and an easy pick for me now is Justin Forsett is sitting there in the second round.
It's an easy pick for me as well.
Is that
Justin
a
Forsett.
simple pick?
Home run.
It's a top 4 PPR guy for me.
I agree. So let's make that simple. Our second round pick is Justin Forsett. We add him to Julio Jones. And next off the board is a quarterback, Andrew Luck. Second round, Andrew Luck, 8th pick, PPR. What do you think? What do you think of that pick?
The value on him is okay.
Now, Rodgers went at the end of the first, if you remember.
Right, but that person was on the turn, so they were able to go Rodgers and Jeremy Hill. So you got an elite running back with your elite quarterback. It's still not a move
In a PPR with no wide receiver there.
and a 3 wide receiver. It's not a move I would make personally, but I don't have a problem with that. If people want to do that, if that's what your gut tells you to do, go with your gut on that.
So in this league, if you're facing Aaron Rodgers with the last pick of the first round or Andrew Luck with the 8th pick of the second, which would you rather have? Like which situation?
Well, I want Rodgers because he's
Okay.
my number 1
So
quarterback.
you'd take Rodgers at the end of the first versus Luck?
It's the same value to me because you're using your second pick on him. It's really a matter of what,
I see.
you know what I mean?
So after Luck went Cobb, which I think in a PPR league he's got to be rising a little bit, even though he can't do too much more than what he did last year. But with Jordy out, he's going to be leaned on as kind of the first read in a lot of situations. Cobb, AJ Green, Alshon Jeffrey, Jordan Matthews.
Wow, Jordan Matthews is going up. Wow.
Yeah, and I can see it in a PPR league. Lamar Miller, Mark Ingram, T.Y. Hilton, Mike Evans, and DeAndre Hopkins. So here we are at the 6th pick of the third round. We have Justin Forsett and Julio Jones, and this is a decision for us to essentially go wide receiver, running back, or Gronkowski's gone. So I doubt we're considering a tight end in this position.
Yeah, this is clearly between wide receiver and running back. And, of course, so people very often say, okay, I'm planning to go, I know Antonio Brown will be there in the 5th pick or who we take, Julio. So I'm going to take him, then I'll go running back at number 2, and then they already predetermine who they're going to get at pick 3 and say, then I'll go, running back or wide receiver there. But this is where you got to look at who's on the board and look at who's left at each position and then make the decision, running back or wide receiver.
In this situation, I think we're staring down 2 guys.
Would
you agree with that? We're
I am
staring down
personally-
Brandon Cooks and Frank Gore?
Exactly. You nailed it. And Frank Gore is a top 12. I believe that's where
He's
I got
number 10 for me.
He's a running back 1 for me as well in PPR.
Our consensus PPR rankings, he's 12th.
Okay,
So
that's what we should be looking at.
I love him right here, and I like Brandon Cooks as well. But there's enough receivers in that tier for me to come back and get one. And a guy who isn't even there right now, Devontae Adams. So Adams is probably my target in the 4th round because I'm guessing that those wide receivers will have a run. But I'm more than happy.
I'm totally fine waiting on wide
Love
receiver
that.
here.
Love that.
So,
Take Gore and hope for Devontae.
okay,
I love
so
it.
just some points about Gore for those that are doubting him. He's got 4 straight years of 1,100-plus yards. He is now behind an offense that will not see 8 in the box the way he saw 8 in the box in San Francisco for many years, and he is involved in the passing game, so he has PPR value. So I think he's been very underrated. There's been a lot of people that have questioned his ranking for us, and I just don't understand why.
His hands are great. Go back and look at his numbers before Jim Harbaugh completely changed the offense he was in. He was a 50-catch guy. And the Colts like to use the running back in the passing game. Look at Ahmed Bradshaw last year. I think he had 6 touchdowns in the air.
And the big concern with an older back is 2 things. Injury concern, which is irrelevant for Gore right now because he's gone 50, 60 games without missing a game. And then the other is competition. And he doesn't really have comparable talent on the Indianapolis offense. So for me, all the pieces are in place, and I think it's a great value in the 3rd round. So after Gore went Emmanuel Sanders, Cooks, Morris, Graham, Murray, and Stewart. And then in the 4th round, we're sitting here after Hyde, Wilson, Edelman, Manning, Gordon, and Watkins. So now we come to our pick, the 7th pick of the 4th round. What's going through your guys' heads? Who are you thinking about here? Because I want to bring up Greg Olsen. In a PPR league, he's my number 2 tight end, and this is the 4th round where I'd start to consider it. So is he even in the mindset here at all? Or are you still committed to running or wide receiver?
For me, when I've done my mocks, I don't like my teams when I take a tight end earlier than 5. At 5, that's where if Greg Olsen,
Except Rob Gronkowski.
well,
Or maybe
Actually,
even in
to
that
be-
situation,
to be
you
frank,
agree.
when I take Gronk
Gore?
on my mocks, I'm not actually as happy with my rosters. I love the value of Gronk there, but I just feel like it does hurt my top end of the positions that you actually have to play a lot of players on. So I would say I'm not considering any tight end until 5. And if I could get either at 6, that would be a home run. But
Let me throw some names out then at wide receiver, all right? You have, according to the draft boards that we're going against, they have Andre Johnson next. But let me throw some other names that I think we'd consider. Andre Johnson, Brandon Marshall, Allen Robinson, Jarvis Landry. These are PPR names. Devontae Adams, like Mike mentioned, is sitting there. I think his ADP on these boards probably isn't as high as it will be when you draft on Sunday.
But this is a perfect example of maybe
groupthink.
Maybe by tomorrow, Devontae Adams has not risen up that list yet, and he's a great name. So people will not be seeing that directly in front of their face. And he of my rankings, Adams is the next man up on PPR.
So if I saw Devontae Adams here and I was giving a recommendation to somebody else who wanted to know, because the question here is Devontae Adams a wide receiver 2 in a PPR league? That's the question for us. And I would probably tell them I feel a little uncomfortable with that.
Okay.
Because of the unknown surrounding Devontae Adams. Yes, he has opportunity. Yes, he has talent. Yes, he's been talked up in preseason. But if I wanted to roll out in a PPR league with 3 wide receiver starting spots, would I want him as my 2? And I honestly would probably say I'd rather have Brandon Marshall as my number 2 in a PPR league than I would or
I would go with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson here is a guy that, in a PPR league, the target monster himself, he's got room to improve like crazy, and I believe in our consensus rankings, and I'm not sure if Devontae Adams has been updated. I love Devontae Adams here, but I think I prefer Allen Robinson.
I just cannot comprehend that. We're going to butt heads on this one for a minute.
On Adams?
We're gonna butt heads on the concept that Allen Robinson is more of a target monster than Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall is the target monster of the last 5 years. I mean, nobody gets targeted more than Brandon Marshall.
I expect
he
Brandon
is always
Marshall,
open.
How many receptions do you have him with? I've got him with 80, I believe.
Oh, I have him way higher, in the 90s.
Yeah, so I mean that's the difference. I think Brandon Marshall's going to be a good wide receiver. I see him being who he was in Miami, and in Miami, he had over 1,080 receptions, but I just don't. That's where I am. Upside, essentially.
Yeah, you are. You're projecting. I'm gonna lean at a wide receiver 2 position on the past.
So we've got 3 different wide receivers, but it sees like we're going wide receiver, right? Because our 2 starting running backs are locked.
So we got to make a pick. So Mike, why don't you make the pick for us? If it's not those 2 guys, we'll just do a little crying to ourselves and go with it.
Here's where I split the difference. We're talking about 3 extremely talented guys. People who are concerned about Adams' production, maybe take a look at the playoffs. Adams smashed it in the playoffs. So we know that he can do it. The opportunity is there. Who's got the better offense?
Who's got the better quarterback?
Better quarterback, better offense. Green Bay, the Jets, or Jacksonville?
Jackson. Oh, man. I was way wrong.
So does that make the pick Devontae Adams?
Adams is the pick for me.
All right.
I like it. I like it.
Let's do it. His ADP is rising, so let's grab him before it gets too high. All right, so let's get to the 5th round here. We closed out that round. Drew Brees, 5th quarterback off the board, went at the end of the 4th. Joseph Randall started the 5th round, and then Joique Bell went right before us. Oh, darn it. Darn it.
Oh, man.
All right, so we're sitting here in the 5th round.
Does that mean the Express hasn't left the station?
Explain to the people.
The Amir Abdullah Express.
Yes, Amir Abdullah is sitting there.
Okay,
so is CJ Spiller.
Just checking.
Yep.
And I believe
as
both
is Brandon Marshall.
Greg Olsen and Travis Kelce are also there. With both of them there, I'm almost wanting to tempt fate and see if we can maybe grab one.
I would love to take. I would like to wait if both are sitting there in the 5th.
Okay.
Because I'd like to take the other one.
I don't expect them to be here. I expect the tight end run to happen, but it's worth trying. I'm excited to try that because if we could get them in the 6th, that's what I've been telling people. Anytime you see Greg Olsen or Travis Kelce in the 6th.
So this is one of the big tips that we would give you is that if you have your tight ends broken up into tiers of value, this is the situation, and we talked about this on the Draft Tips show 2 days ago.
Right.
This is the situation where you can look at your tier and say, okay, Kelce and Olsen are both in my tier. So I don't have to take one of them right now.
Well, maybe.
Maybe.
Because I think
you could tempt fate and both could go.
I would
both probably will.
hypothesize if we don't take one, they're both going to be gone.
All right, so Kelsey, Olsen, Brandon Marshall, Allen Robinson, or a running back. Ivory's there, Martin's there, Amir Abdullah,
CJ
Yeldon.
Spiller.
Yeah. I'm so scared of Spiller right now.
I'm a little scared of Spiller as well, just because of the injury. However, at this place in the draft, I think in a PPR setting, his floor is going to be high. The injury is the only reason he's down this low, I believe. So,
but you have to start a flex and another wide receiver at the beginning of the season.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay. So what's the thought process?
The thought process going through my mind is guys that I really like. I love Allen Robinson. Brandon Marshall is very close for me as well. So those are two of the guys who I'm looking at. And Golden Tate
Marshall's
actually.
My pick right now.
Okay, well,
because we start 3 wide receivers.
I will concede the pick.
Yeah. We know I would take Allen Robinson over Brandon Marshall, but it's close, and I like Marshall too. So let's grab Marshall and see what happens if one of our tight ends can come back.
Well, I'm going to read back our roster now that we enter the 6th round, and Travis Kelce's still on the board.
Greg Olsen went 2 picks ahead.
That's okay.
But one of our two. That's where tiers matter. Yeah. It doesn't matter between Greg Olsen and Travis Kelce.
Right now we're starting Justin Forsett and Frank Gore, and our 3 wide receiver positions are filled with Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, and Brandon Marshall. So shaping up to be a very, very good roster. Is Travis Kelce still on the board? Greg Olsen just went. Is he the pick in the 6th round?
Yes. Home run.
Okay.
Anytime
just
in the
making
6th.
Sure. Now, Allen Robinson's still there. You don't want to flex start Allen Robinson over Travis Kelce?
I'll tell you what. There is nothing better than when multiple guys you love have dropped. What a great problem to have. But since there's a positional advantage to be had, and we've already got our starters filled at wide receiver, we got to go Kelce.
All right, let me pick a name out for you. We just talked about Martavis Bryant. Now, Bryant, if you are drafting this weekend, is probably not going to plummet down those boards necessarily. If adjustments have happened, I guess he will. But he went in this draft with the 11th pick of the 5th round.
Yeah, I think that will happen this weekend and won't happen next weekend. Just a lot of people, look, Foot Clan, you guys listen every day, and you're going to listen every day through the season, and that's why we're going to win championships together. But a lot of people, they don't, and they don't stay up to date on the news. So,
all right, so Travis Kelce, we took him in the 6th. We're entering the 7th round now. Let me read back the 7th round to you. Allen Robinson, Torrey Smith, Martellus Bennett, Steve Smith, and Alfred Blue. And I can tell you I'm very happy with Travis Kelce over what's left at tight end. We probably would have waited to the end of the draft for a tight end if we didn't get Kelce.
Correct.
So what position are you looking at here? Right now, we have a flex position open. We got our quarterback open and the bench open.
Did Allen Robinson go?
Yes.
Allen Robinson went.
Yep. I couldn't find him.
So right now, if you look at the core positions, we're looking to start a flex guy. We're looking at quarterback. What are you thinking?
I'm looking for running back depth. At this point, we've held out as long as we can. And
what about Arian Foster right now? He is sitting there on the board.
That is interesting. As your 3rd running back.
Yeah.
In the 7th round, the news on Foster fluctuates pretty much every single day. But lately, it has been extremely positive of him missing 4 weeks of the season. And if you can take a running back in the 7th round, who, he's going to miss 4 games, but when he comes back as a running back 1, I mean, that's how you can win a league. Like that's how people do it. Is you steal value late, and Arian Foster is a known commodity. We're not throwing a lotto ticket into the air, scratching it off and hoping that something pans out. Arian Foster is known.
So let me give you names because there are other running backs available, obviously. Doug Martin, Shane Vereen, Devontae Freeman, Tevin Coleman. Who else?
Woodhead in a PPR.
Reggie Bush, Sankey. There's not a lot of big-time names here.
Do I bring up what happened last time we mock drafted Arian Foster?
Does that do it? Does that do it?
Yeah, if
the fantasy reaper. Yeah, so maybe we don't draft Arian just so that he might get back onto the field this year. I'm pretty sure there'll be a drive-by shooting if we draft Arian Foster.
Isn't that like when you multiply by 0, if you do it twice, you can reset the whole equation?
Yeah. honestly,
It's a negative. Negative
Come
times
on, man.
negative.
Yeah, it equals a positive.
Arian Foster is a roster-based decision, right? It's not a draft round decision. It's can your roster take him? And I look at our roster with a stud tight end right now, solid wide receivers, and solid starting running backs. We've got a solid team here. We're looking at a flex, but we can play with lots of different options for a week or two for a flex. So I think because of our roster, you got to go Arian here because we want to win a championship.
So you telling me that we're going?
Yes.
All right, I love it.
We're not going to fear the Reaper.
Oh, please don't. No news, season-ending news
Wait.
break today.
So we drafted him.
Yeah, we drafted Arian Foster.
Breaking news.
Oh, be quiet. This thing is never going to die because 10 NFL players get injured every day.
Hey, here's the best, the real honest part about this. We'd have a good time. It was one guy, like one guy.
It was Arian
Well, I guess Martavis Bryant kind of
and
counts.
LaShawn McCoy. Well,
Maybe it
McCoy was
wasn't
my
one
number.
guy.
McCoy was my number 5 at the time.
Okay.
Maybe you are the Reaper.
Maybe I really am.
Maybe it's not a joke.
How do we use this power for our
For good?
advantage? No, for good. Come on.
I guess we are the Foot Clan. We don't do stuff for good. All right. After Arian Foster, we took him, and I like the logic. Okay, the logic is what you needed to pay attention to there. If you already had a situation where you're not strong in your starting roster, and especially at the beginning of the season, you can't take the chance on Foster because you're not starting him. You're not playing him for a little while. But this gives you what you need, which is mid-season power to go through to the playoffs. These are game winner. That's a game league winner type of situation.
Yeah, so now maybe this is the first time you've listened to the Fantasy Footballers podcast and you're going, well, your quarterback stinks. You haven't even been talking about quarterback.
Well, that's when I tell you Ryan Mallett's still on the board.
So
He's still sleeping.
So we haven't even paid attention to it the last round because our theory here is Aaron Rodgers and Andrew Luck. They're a step above. They're a positional advantage. Outside of those two guys, which you have to give up a hefty price to get, the middle of the pack guys are just all so close that it doesn't really make a difference to get that great name versus getting somebody late in the draft, and you can even stream them. So I would say that I would say you don't need to worry at all about quarterback in those middle rounds. Don't do it because this is how we
Tannehill,
develop a
Manning,
strong roster.
Stafford, Rivers, Bradford, Kaepernick, Bridgewater, Palmer.
Yep, that sounds pretty good to me.
Fine
Yeah.
with any of them. No quarterback right now.
So I've been really happy. We have an ultimate draft report product on our website right now that you can go, you can basically submit your roster to us. We'll grade your team. We'll give you an in-season action plan, strengths, weaknesses. I've seen a lot of these come through, and we're a little backed up on them, by the way. So if you submit an order for that, it might take 2 or 3 days to get yours. But we're going through the teams ourselves. But I've seen a lot of people execute the streaming quarterback strategy to a T, and I'm really just personally excited to see that when a guy has Bradford and Palmer on their team, and I know they're going to get performance out of those positions.
And you can tell when you look at their roster, their depth is incredible.
Oh, yeah. Studs.
So right now, we need to move a little quicker through this draft. So let's make some quick picks. We're sitting here in the 8th round. Brady and Newton went off in this round. Charles Johnson
Wait,
before us.
Then give me the pick.
Go for it.
All right. With the 8th pick, I'm going
8th pick.
Is it in the 8th round?
8th round.
With our 8th round pick at this point, I would go Danny Woodhead. No, I'm going to go Danny Woodhead because
Wow.
I think that
That's not a reach, huh?
ADP wise, it is a reach, but for
Hey,
performance,
it's your pick.
I
He's
don't
on our
think it's
team.
a reach.
because we've got Arian
PPR
Foster,
league?
Yeah, and 2, I want the PPR. He's going to get plenty of receptions and his baseline will be high. So
Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit with John Paulsen about him later today. So we'll give you some Danny Woodhead perspective as well. Let's go into the 9th round. Devin Funchess could be a value. Just went off the board right ahead of us. Ryan Matthews, Isaiah Crowell also went off the board in front of us. So let's go ahead and see who's on the board now at both wide receiver and running back. So Devontae Freeman's still there. Tevin Coleman, so the backfield for Atlanta. In the wide receiver position, we have some value guys, some Eddie Royal, Michael Floyd. Wheaton is still on the board. We talked about Wheaton. You know, if you Mike, have Wheaton and Bryant at the same position in your board, Bryant went off the board in the 5th.
Right.
Wheaton's sitting here in the 9th in a PPR. Reggie Bush is a possible PPR running back that could perform for you. And then you have a lot of home run guys, David Cobb, David Johnson.
Cobb, who's injured, so I'm not taking Cobb right here.
Okay, especially with Foster on our roster. So
Foster on our roster.
All right. So, Mike, your pick.
All right, right here, because the running backs are quickly going, I'm gonna take a gamble here. We're in the 9th round.
We are.
Okay, so I want a piece of that Atlanta offense personally, or another piece because we have Julio. I want some of that running game, and reports are that Freeman is going to start the year as he's going to start as the starter. I guess that makes sense.
He's going to start.
So, but I think that Tevin Coleman has tremendous value and upside here. I don't think Freeman has the upside of Coleman. I would go with Coleman. I'll do this. I'm going to go Coleman, but you guys can pick either Freeman or Coleman. Let's narrow it down to those two.
Okay, so I'm looking at a roster. Forsett, Gore, Foster. I take Devontae Freeman because I might need a running back earlier in this league, and I know he's starting. But I'm okay drafting Coleman because I gave you the pick.
Oh, man. I very much like Coleman more than Devonta Freeman, but I think the logic of when we need a running back just to get us through till Arian Foster comes back, and then we probably wouldn't see Tevin Coleman in there, I would go Devontae Freeman. He's the starter. Solid.
Right. So Devontae Freeman off the board. We have Forsett, Gore, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, Brandon Marshall, Travis Kelce, Arian Foster, Danny Woodhead, and Devontae Freeman. We're coming around to the 10th round. The highest ADP guy on the board right now is Eli Manning at the quarterback position.
I still think we can wait there. We've got
I agree
3
with
bench spots, and that's something to keep in mind. This is where at your draft you got to start paying attention to how many spots do you have left, because you might be going, I need to get my handcuff, or
I'm looking for a wide receiver.
Absolutely. Our PPR league, we have 3 wide receivers. We have a number of running backs. We have 6, I believe. So at wide receiver, I'm going to go ahead and make the pick for us this time. I'm going to take the tried and true Marcus Colston. I think Marcus Colston is a value here in the 10th round. You have a lot of targets that disappeared off of that offense, and he took less money to go back there. So I think Colston is the pick for me, and we're going to take him here in the 10th round. We're going to roll around to the 11th with a few spots left on this roster. I'm going to hand this pick off to Jason.
Okay, so scroll down. Let me see. I'll name some running backs and wide receivers. I'm fine taking either. I think we're probably more in need of a wide receiver.
I agree.
But I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
And the reason is because I really want David Johnson. He's a great value. I think he's going to be a good PPR guy.
Upside play.
And so I'm not going to pass the value over.
David Johnson off the board.
David Johnson.
We're going to go ahead and make 2 more picks before we wrap up this mock draft. What are your thoughts on the mock so far?
I'm loving our team. What is the quarterback situation now?
I think we got to draft a couple of them.
Okay,
so right now it's thinned out quite a bit. Kaepernick, Palmer, Cutler, Flacco, Dalton, Alex Smith, Mariota, down at the bottom.
With that many people on the bench right now,
17 quarterbacks are off the board.
There's still a lot of guys that are light there. I think we only need to draft 1, and we stream from the waiver. That would be my opinion, because
I would go the other direction.
Receiver.
I think you draft 2 here. It's a 12-team league, and because of how far it was 17 off the board, I draft 2.
I agree with Jason because it's a 5 bench spot. I'm going to do 1, but
who's your quarterback?
But because he is a quarterback 1 for me, I'm taking Carson Palmer right here. I want to lock that up.
Wow. Okay.
And Andy and I would have taken Colin Kaepernick probably.
Yeah. And so if Kaepernick's still on the board when it comes back around, I'm going to take him out of my disagreement.
He's gone.
He's gone.
Yes.
All right. So we're back around, and we've got 1 bench spot to fill. So if you did draft a quarterback, that would be somebody like Marcus Mariota, which I think would be worth taking a shot at, especially going with Palmer. But I will. I
think we could use another wide receiver. It's a 3 wide receiver.
Ruben
flex.
Randall available?
Ruben Randall is available.
Ruben Randall.
Some names to think about
Victor
as well.
Cruz,
Ty Montgomery,
Devontae Parker.
I like Ty Montgomery as a late flyer here.
No chance I would ever draft Ty Montgomery on a team with Devontae Adams.
Really?
Nope.
That makes it even more strong for me. But
how does that make it more strong? You want to roll 2 guys out there? He's completely unknown to me.
Yeah, he's complete unknown, but I'm just saying if something were to happen.
Okay, let me give you a choice then. Ty Montgomery, Philip Dorsett.
I'd rather have Philip Dorsett.
Okay. Marcus Wheaton is still on the board. I think he's the pick, without question.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair. I would take Ruben.
Okay. Ruben is I'm dropping on Ruben Randall. So
you go ahead.
All right, that's it for our mock draft. One of you guys want to read this back to the listeners real quick?
So our starting quarterback, Carson Palmer, and we'll stream that position. Our running backs in a PPR, Justin Forsett and Frank Gore are our starters. On the bench, we have a plethora of guys for the flex: Arian Foster, Danny Woodhead, Devontae Freeman, and David Johnson. And then for our starting wide receivers, Julio Jones, Devontae Adams, and Brandon Marshall. And then on the bench, we've got Marcus Colston.
Did you just say Wheaston?
Yes,
sure
I did.
did.
Marcus Wheaton.
He just kept going, too.
Colston. And then our starting tight end is Travis Kelce. Our kicker and our defense don't matter.
I guess if you have Marcus Colston and Marcus
I was
Wheaton,
reading
it's a little bit of a
Marquise
confusion.
If you're wondering on defense, because some people wonder, the Jets are available. They have a great week
The
one
Panthers
matchup.
are available. They have a great week 1
And
matchup
the Dolphins
as well.
are available, who also have a great week 1. You got plenty of options.
I bet we'll take one of them.
Let's do it.
All right, I took the Panthers because
you would.
because it was closest to where my mouse was. And then we'll go ahead and draft Justin Tucker and finish this out. That way I can save these draft results and put them on the website. How do you feel? Give us a grade, 2-second grade on this team.
I give us an A. Sorry, I think it's a really good.
I'm
If
pretty
this roster
happy.
came in, I would
I'm
give
not.
them.
I'm not happy with what I have at the quarterback position and how many quarterbacks are currently rostered in the league. So I'm worried that because Palmer is still a risk. You'd agree,
No, I wouldn't.
even though we haven't seen more than 5 games from him that's been consistent. I
Well,
mean,
that's
I
not-
love
We've
his upside.
seen more than 5.
Yeah.
Last year it was 5 games. The year before that he was also consistent.
All right, let's shift gears for a second. I was thinking we talked about Topps Huddle, the Topps Huddle app, and trading cards and collecting trading cards, and I was remembering back to being a kid and how many times I, much like in fantasy football, took advantage of one of my friends, traded for their their insert Michael Jordan card, and got home and bragged to everybody, and then my mom would come in the room and say, "We're going back over to their house. You have to trade. You have to trade back. You took their favorite card. Their mom called. They're crying at their house, and you have to go take the card back.
So
You were the kid crying.
Yeah.
so
Jerk.
Topps Huddle.
Topps has taken that card experience and they've made it easy, clean, and new in the digital age. They have the Huddle app features officially licensed NFLPA digital cards. You get to open the packs. You get that experience again of acquiring a new pack with the excitement of opening it up and seeing all the guys come out. And you can make trades. Like, it's not just cards for you.
And nobody's mom is going to make you trade back.
And
Right?
Maybe.
In addition to
Not
that,
responsible for moms.
yeah, not responsible for moms. The Topps Huddle app is not just for collecting and trading cards. You can actually play them as well. So it's basically you can play your cards and earn points in like a real-time daily fantasy style games based on how the players perform in the game. So essentially, you're getting the best of card opening and you're getting the best of fantasy football experience too.
And honestly, people are enjoying this. Over 300 million Topps digital packs have been open since 2012. There's like more than 1 pack a second being opened. So it's super fun. And you can download it for free right now on the App Store, on Google Play, and you get 10 free packs for getting it.
Yeah, I got T.Y. Hilton yesterday.
Pretty happy with that?
Yeah.
T.Y.'s good, man.
I'm looking to acquire a T.Y. Hilton.
Oh,
So we should talk a trade a little bit
Trade
later.
partners. All right, let's go ahead and talk to a friend of the show, John Paulsen, right now.
You talking to me?
The fantasy footballers are now joined by John Paulsen of 4for4.com. What's going on, John?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Hey, we're doing great today. Football's back. We're all very excited.
Yeah, it's August is a crazy time with all the drafts going on, and then just gets crazier once week 1 starts. But it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, it sure is. So we got some questions here for John. And the first thing we're going to do, it's preseason, so let's talk a little bit about preseason. Is there a wide receiver and or running back who you have rising from what you've seen during the preseason?
Well, I think the name that jumps to mind there is Amir Abdullah for the Lions. Obviously looked really good in that first preseason game. His stock is rising. It helps that Joique Bell is still sidelined. I think it's getting to the point where Bell's becoming a pretty good value. I just picked him up in the 7th round of a PPR league as my RB3. So I think that's probably the name that jumps to mind. At receiver, I think Devin Funchess due to the injury to Kelvin Benjamin. Obviously Devontae Adams due to the injury to Jordy Nelson. Those are two receivers that are really jumping up my rankings in the last week or so.
Well, the Lions is a perfect segue to the next question. And you touched on it a little bit, but how are you approaching the Lions backfield? Do you want both of them, or do you want just Bell because he's the value, or Abdullah because of the upside?
Well, it depends on Abdullah's price, because in some leagues it's getting a little crazy. He might be going at the end of the third round. I have quite a few shares of him in those MFL 10s, those best ball leagues that I do. I was drafting him a lot in the fifth round, and his price has spiked, and he's now going in the early fourth, I believe. And that's a little steep. I think no matter what, the Lions are going to split the work there. They're not going to give him 250, 300 touches if they can help it. The OC there, Joe Lombardi, came from New Orleans, where they had the committee all those years, and I think they want Joique Bell to lead the team in carries, and that's why they're letting him sit out and get completely healthy prior to the season. Now, I think Bell's becoming the better value. I wouldn't mind having both, but you may not get two starting caliber running backs every week if you're starting both of them. Certainly, if one goes down, the other's value is going to spike. Right now, I have 213 touches for Abdullah, 201 for Bell, and 52 for Riddick. What do you guys think of that kind of split?
Yeah, those numbers, that's kind of how we're seeing it right now. And I agree with you that it can be rough to invest that many early picks. So, I mean, it's only two, but a fourth and a seventh for guys who are going to split could be a little bit heavy for me. But so besides Abdullah, and you mentioned you're rising on Funchess, we saw the rookie wide receivers go bananas last year. Are there any rookies who you are targeting this year?
I think the interesting player to me right now is Brashad Perryman, because he's been injured. He's got that strained tendon, I believe they're calling it now. It was a bruised knee. But if he comes back and can get healthy, the door is wide open to be a number one or number two receiver there in Baltimore, depending how much faith you have in Steve Smith and him staying healthy at his age. I think Smith would probably lead the team in targets, even if Perryman's healthy, but Perryman's got that 4.2 something speed. They brought him in to replace Torrey Smith, and he's going like in the 11th round now, I think. I picked him up in the 12th round in a draft.
Wow.
So, people are really, when a guy misses multiple weeks in the preseason, especially if they're a rookie, you get down on him. But if you're drafting him as your fourth, fifth receiver, you have the ability to wait for him to get healthy and maybe help your team, in October and beyond, just like Odell Beckham did last year.
Yeah. So, John, you're known obviously for being a very accurate predictor, and I see there's a lot of questions on fourth round running backs, guys that are close together, and so those are those picks that help win or lose leagues depending on if you picked them right. So I'm going to put a couple guys together, and I'd like to see where you would rank them in what order. Between Melvin Gordon, and Carlos Hyde, and then I'm going to throw another name in there because I believe he's higher on your rankings that we could talk about, is Joseph Randle. Those three guys, Joseph Randle, Melvin Gordon, and Carlos Hyde. How would you, if you're coming up on a draft, who do you draft and in what order?
Are you talking PPR or standard or?
Let's go half point PPR then.
Oh man, okay. I don't have those. I don't have those ranks handy.
All right, we'll go PPR then.
Okay, PPR. So I currently have Hyde at. I'm pretty much down on Hyde. I have him at 30. I think he's going to have over 200 carries, but with Reggie Bush there, whenever Reggie Bush is healthy, he tends to produce. I think that's a big question there with him, is if he's going to stay healthy. But if he is, he's going to be a headache for Hyde owners. Kendall Hunter is also in the mix there. So I just don't see a huge workload for Hyde, which I think is what he needs to be an RB2. Gordon I have at 20. I generally like him, but he's not going to play on third down. He's already having some issues with pass protection. He didn't do a lot of work in the passing game in Wisconsin. And they have Danny Woodhead there. And that's the big reason why I don't think he's going to do a lot in the passing game, because Woody is so good in that, and also the 2-minute drill at the end of half. So
yeah, we're big fans of Woodhead here.
Yeah, he's great. So he's really cheap too, and you can get him in PPR formats in the 8th, 9th, 10th round. So I think Gordon will be a 2-down back, but I think his workload's pretty safe there because they drafted him early and want to use him. Joseph Randle, I think of the three, maybe has the biggest upside in terms of workload and what he could do, but he also has probably the lowest downside. Just because that is just a weird situation with Darren McFadden there. Chris Johnson being off the free agent wire is actually probably good. But, that's a good offensive line. It's a good running game. He looked really good last year, Randall.
So I'll put you on the spot then. You're in a PPR draft, and Melvin Gordon and Joseph Randall are the only two running backs left in the entire draft. Which guy do you take?
Right now I have to go with my rank because I have Gordon at 20 and I have Randall at 21, but it might depend on who I have more shares of if I want to try to diversify a little bit, because when I have guys that close, I really don't have a strong feeling one way or the other about him.
Awesome. Okay, well, last guy I want to talk about real quick, just because I'm high on him in my own rankings, and I see that you're very high on him, and I am scared to death of my own ranking. But because you're accurate, I want to know, give me some confidence right now in C.J. Anderson. Is he really going to be – I think I've got him 4 right now. Where do you have him ranked, and can we buy into C.J. Anderson with confidence?
I have him at 6 in PPR. I have him at 6 also in standard. I think we can be reasonably certain. He looked really good last year down the stretch. I mean, you really can't argue with his play from week 10 on. Was outstanding. I think he was the RB1 down the stretch. He's got a coach that likes to run the ball. I think the concern now is not so much whether or not he's any good, but whether or not they want to work Ronnie Hillman in more, because he's having a really good preseason. He's past Monty Ball on the depth chart, and he adds that kind of scat back, smaller back, change of pace thing. And if Kubiak decides to start splitting up the role a little bit, he's usually more about having a bell cow. But if he decides to try to work Hillman in more, that might downgrade Anderson a little bit. But if you look at the guys below him, Matt Forte, I have him tied with in PPR, Justin Forsett, Frank Gore, I mean, there's a little bit of in terms of workload, there's a little bit of a drop-off in terms of what we can expect in carries. And I think Anderson's situation with Kubiak is just really excellent. I mean, there's some downside, but...
So is Hillman's the handcuff then?
I believe Hillman is the handcuff now, yeah. I mean, I think that happened in the last week with Hillman having a really good preseason and Monty Ball sort of kind of fading away.
So we'll get one more question in for you, John, because we know you're working just as much as we are, which is... from the sun up till the sun down. and with Jordy Nelson going down, everyone wants to talk Devontae Adams. What is your ceiling, and what are you expecting from the sophomore?
Well, I have him at 17 in PPR, and I have him at 18 in standard, so I'm expecting a lot from him. I'm seeing him go in the early 5th round, even into the 4th round. I think that's a fair price to pay, given the sort of drop-off that you have there at receiver in the 4th round. He's going to see 120-some targets, maybe more, from the best quarterback in the world. It's a great offense. They've been talking him up all offseason. McCarthy and Rodgers have both been just raving about Adams. So, theoretically, he could finish in the top 12, top 10, but I'm definitely expecting solid number 2 fantasy receiving numbers out of Adams this year, given his role.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Before I let you go, one last question we ask a lot of our fantasy experts that are on here, because it's probably the most important. Are you a single stuff or double stuff Oreo kind of guy?
Double stuff.
Yes!
It's the filling is the best part.
Right.
You're telling me I can have twice as much?
There you go, John. We agree, and we commend you. John Paulsen, everybody from 4for4.com. Thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me out, guys.
All right. Thanks a lot to John Paulsen for joining us. One might say he is the anti-fantasy reaper. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, the accuracy
there's
level.
only one. There can only be one.
Yeah, there can only be one. It's like much like the Highlander. There's only one fantasy reaper. And we are so lucky and blessed that he's on our show.
Yeah, so hopefully you enjoyed the show today. I want to let people know, if you go to jointhefoot.com, we have an exclusive episode for supporters of this show on jointhefoot.com. It goes through the top 10 mistakes that fantasy footballers make, or fantasy football players make. We make lots more mistakes than 10 as the host of the show.
Nope.
But it goes through the top 10 mistakes that people make. It's very useful for just kind of setting the table for this season and the future seasons.
Yeah, so become an official Foot Clan member over at jointhefoot.com.
All right, that's it for this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. We went a little longer today, give you some bonus. Yeah.
Weekend
And
time.
so we're going to have we got to have some new guests next week. We're going to be talking preseason week 3, which will be in the books.
That's the good stuff.
Tevin Coleman's playing this week. I'm
Yeah.
excited to see some Tevin Coleman
And
on
you
the field.
guys can be embarrassed by picking Devontae Freeman over
Hey,
Coleman.
I like Coleman more. It was a roster-based decision, all right? And I stand
Wait,
by
what
it.
if I say his name 3 times fast? Tevin Coleman.
Don't
Tevin
you
Coleman.
dare.
Tevin Coleman.
Don't you dare.
All right. So, hey, thanks for listening today. Thanks for supporting the show. Subscribe on iTunes. You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. We're very active on Twitter, so come talk to us on there.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.